What's up, everybody, and welcome back into the Play the Fight Song College Football Show. Another action-packed episode tonight. We have a busy schedule. This could be a long one. Hopefully, we can tame it down on a few topics, but we got trivia, we got hot takes, and we got your questions to address tonight, so it's going to be an awesome one. And there's a ton of recent news. College Football 25, of course, involved. Big day tomorrow for that, but let's talk to the boys. We are short on Reese again this week. He was supposed to be back. Scheduling conflict. We're hoping next week it's a high percentage that he will be back, but stay tuned on that. JP, ready to go tonight? You have trivia questions ready, or are we going to get them right, or are they really hard?
You know, they're kind of the ones that are in the middle. Like, it's not one you'd be asked. It's probably not something you think about, but if you kind of think about it and settle yourself down, I think we'll get some of these right. I think they're pretty unique and interesting. So I'm pumped to do it. I tried to get it in like a Jeopardy format, or like I really want to do Family Feud Fast Money round. But the problem is we'd have to find 100 people to survey on questions, and then we'd have to figure out a way to get Jake off and he couldn't hear us while you go, and vice versa. So maybe here in the future we get an ability to get 100 people to respond to a question. But that sounds like an absolute blast. We'll start with the trivia though.
Family Feud, probably top 5, especially the Fast Money. That's probably top 5 when it comes to game shows of all time and most entertaining like answers and questions. We actually did it in college when it came to like a preseason activity. So that's a good idea, but we got to make that happen. Jake, are you ready to go head to head tonight in trivia, or is something else taking up space in your mind? Like, we got to talk about Iowa and Iowa State replacing the 2:30 SEC slot.
You know, I kind of forgot we had the trivia because I thought we were saving it for Reese. So caught a little bit by surprise, but that's okay. I think that's sometimes the best way to attack trivia, just as best you can. I'm not going to know the questions beforehand, so what's it really matter? But
I love that. I'm one step up already. I mean, read the doc. I mean, we have a plan out there. It's been out there all week, so I've been ready to go. I didn't research it, but I feel good about my odds.
I don't think these are ones Reese would get.
Okay. So
I thought this was like when we first originally put this together, I thought it was like, I thought it was meant for Reese. I thought that's
no. That was these questions came to me as I was doing some reading just on college football in general, and I was like, oh yeah, it's like a good question. Like, I wonder if you think about that comes off the top of your head and you answer that one correctly. So I don't think Reese would get these, maybe one or two. But you two, if you just relax and take it easy, I think you'll be able to get it. Don't overthink it. Yeah, cool. Don't overthink it. You can get trivia brain.
Yeah, I do get worked up, so that's a good call. But all right, let's go into tonight's episode. Let's start off with recent news. We got a lot to cover here. Let's talk about conference championship odds, which dropped. I just use Circa Sportsbook because it's the prettiest image released out of all of them, and rather than screenshotting other sportsbook, you got DraftKings, you got FanDuel, whichever one approaches us first and says, hey, use our odds because you have a good audience, then we'll use them. But Circa, they put together this image. Let's just go through the Power 4 top 3 teams in each: SEC, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, as you can see behind on the image. The Big Ten, Ohio State leads it, then Oregon, then Penn State. The ACC, Florida State picked to repeat, Clemson, and then Miami making the mix. And then the Big 12, Utah, K-State, and the mid-3 appearance of Iowa State in the third slot there. I'll go to Jake first. Yeah, Jake, how do we feel? Does that feel high? Like, when's the last time Iowa's been top 3? I mean, probably after the Fiesta Bowl, right?
Yeah, 21. Definitely. They were
what? Oh God,
they were second.
It might have been
it was like
Texas or Oklahoma.
They were ahead of Texas. It was like 120 for Oklahoma, and it was like 160 for Iowa State. That's how close it was.
It was crazy
heading into the year. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the public is catching on to a little bit of what Iowa State's doing behind the scenes and things like that. I know Bud Elliott just covered them with like a preseason thing the other day. Obviously, Pate's been on a couple of shows regionally, or locally, I should say. And I think, I don't know, cat's out of the bag. It feels like there's a lot of production coming back, and they've made some nice pieces in the portal, but they're not like 4 or 5 star names where it was noticed right away. And they retained everybody. That's huge. It doesn't happen a lot in college football.
Yeah, this sneaking up on people thing's not really going to happen the way people think. Like, for a long time, all offseason until we got to like right before the preview magazines start hitting press, like people didn't know about Iowa State and didn't understand where they were. And now it just feels like they're going to be the hot ticket in the Big 12. So like that just makes you feel a little less like if you're not a fan from the outside perspective, you're a little less likely to bet on them and buy in the hype. For me, the biggest thing on here was just the drop from Michigan to USC and the fact that he's still within the top 5 to win the conference. I think that's a little crazy. I don't see that team being anywhere in the top 7, 8 of that conference. But
is the difference between USC and Iowa, is that schedule based, or I don't think the gap
Iowa has the easier schedule.
That's what I'm. So how are they? I mean,
because they have more to figure out. I mean, I think they're more confident in Lincoln Riley getting a good defense than they are in Kirk Ferentz getting a competent offense. Hey, I don't know, man. I'm just telling you what I think they're saying.
Who's thinking that? I'm definitely not. I'm not thinking that.
Another shock,
maybe.
Another shock for the Big Ten. How about Northwestern putting up a 9-win season and then having the worst odds in the conference, along with Purdue, who won 2 games. So I know they lost a lot, but like to throw them behind UCLA, Minnesota, who you expect to have 4.5 wins this year, like no respect for David Braun's squad.
I think Indiana below UCLA is a little odd to me. I think UCLA is going to be pretty bad. I think Indiana will be a little better than what you see.
They've got some skill at the.
Not that I would ever lay that number. I just want that to be clear.
They have talent in the skill
position, but
they really do. I like Cignetti, so I'm not as low on Indiana as most. Other conference odds that stuck out to you? Anybody else from the other two? ACC, Miami gets in the mix. Should they have higher odds in Louisville? Do you think that's just strictly because of the power they got in the portal?
Yeah, I think it's just the name brand aspect of a better quarterback here that people are really confident in. Really good grabs on the defensive side to make that unit a lot better. It's just, I think Clemson and Florida State are your 2-1 clear 1-2 in that conference, maybe more so than the odds are displaying, but that's just my take on it. Another one stuck out to me, like in the Big 12, Arizona being as low as they are. I thought that was weird.
Do you know that they have? So I thought that was weird, but they come to find out they have like only 56 guys on scholarship, like 56 scholarship players on their team. I mean, they lost everybody when Fish left.
11 on the field at a time, baby.
And they kept. I mean, coaches are already bitching about not being able to have 85 players, but that's another story for another time. But, I mean, they kept Fafita and they kept Tedoroyo McMillan. But I mean, one wide receiver and quarterback, I guess, can't solve everything. I mean, Kansas jumped on Texas Tech's back in kind of the, I don't know. Everybody was hyped on Texas Tech last year, and rightfully so again this
year.
Maybe
you're just a year early. We were all a year early on Washington. I jumped back on the train, got it correct. Maybe if you jump back on that Texas Tech train, it'll ride you to the promised land.
Yeah, I think that's a good team to jump on. What about SMU at plus 2,000, and the next is North Carolina at plus 5,000? So SMU kind of cracks that. I mean, it's still big odds, but they're in the relevant odds with Virginia Tech, NC State, Louisville. They're kind of around that ballpark for first year.
Absolutely.
It's they should be. I mean, that there is a drastic drop off in that conference. I think people forget how bad Wake Forest was last year. I was watching a video on YouTube. I can't remember who put it out last night. That it was like G5 teams that beat FBS teams, or like Power 4 teams last year. And Boston College, I forgot Boston College lost to a G5 school, and I'm blanking on who it was.
Northern Illinois, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right?
I think it was the same week.
That happened last year.
I think it's the same week Miami of Ohio beat Cincinnati. I don't know why I remember that.
Got Purdue last year. Sac State, that's FCS.
Didn't Fresno State get 2 people last year? Didn't they get was it Arizona State?
Yes, they got Arizona State and they got Purdue. Yep. So that is correct. But there's some upsets that I'm sure brewing, and SMU's got enough talent to compete within the ACC this year. How about the SEC? We haven't talked anything on the SEC. Oklahoma makes its way into the middle of the pack, and then Texas picks second. But one thing I wanted to talk about is Georgia is less confident of a pick to Vegas to win the SEC than Ohio State is to win the Big Ten, which is shocking. Because if you say yes at those bottom questions, Ohio State has quote unquote worse odds to not win it. They're expected to win the Big Ten more than Georgia's expected to win the SEC. I would disagree there. Like, I think plus 200 is good odds there for Georgia to win the SEC. No,
I think that there's a deeper talent pool in the SEC when you go to top 4,
Yeah.
top 5 teams. Once you get past
man.
Penn State truly in the Big Ten, I think that top 3 is the only people that could win the Big Ten. I think there's 4 or 5 teams that could win the SEC, possibly
many
6. We could
How
have
many
that
times
conversation.
how many times have we talked about Missouri being a dark horse playoff team and they're sitting at, what is that? It's super small, 9th best
Yeah.
odds. I mean, Texas A&M jumps them in their first year
I
at
think
like
that's
Elko.
7.
LSU's terrible defense jumps them. Tennessee with Nico Maliava jumps them, and Missouri's got everybody back from last year's team. And we always talk about them being a dark horse. I mean, you're not making the playoff if you're the 9th best team
No.
in the
You need
SEC.
to be in the top 5, I think, to have from this point right now, you need to be in the top 5 for people to actually look at you as a playoff contender, which is odd. It doesn't make sense. Maybe it's just schedule based and where they'll be, and their real chances to get to Atlanta. But I think they have a better shot at getting in the playoff than they do to win the SEC.
All right, fair enough. That's conference championship odds. I'm sure those will update as we get closer if more moves are made. If not, you can get on some early picks now because there are some odds out there that are interesting to look at. Let's go to the next step, and that is Rashada v. Florida is what we're going to call it. Jaden Rashada, we got to talk about the Spark Note version of it last week with Jake. We all kind of got to do the deep dive into it this week. I'll swing it over to JP to kind of let this one go. But basically my end thoughts on it, and I'll just jump off this, JP, but like Florida never had the money to pay him what they promised. They wanted him to pay like $1 million to sign his name on on National Signing Day. That never came through. So there's definitely money on the table, and this could lead to a lot of lingering effects for college football. But what did you take from it?
Yeah, I think the big thing here is that not necessarily the school or the program are under fire, but it's the head coach. It's one of their top boosters. And so that's the bigger piece, is that the school is not going to get in trouble here. It's going to be more so Napier and their top booster. And we've seen the NCAA punish boosters before. Look at SMU and the Pony Excess in the 80s. I know it was a while ago, but they'll do it again. They've done it in the past. They did it with Tennessee. They've done it with other schools. For this here, I thought it was interesting that Napier came out and he was like, I can't say anything really just because of how it's all going on, but he goes, I'm really confident in how I handled things. I feel really good about how I handled things.
He said, I'm really comfortable with my actions.
That's the same thing.
I just thought that I've never heard anybody say it like that.
No, which means he really doesn't think he did anything wrong. He doesn't think he overpromised, lied, none of that, which is interesting because obviously you wouldn't be getting sued had you done nothing wrong. That's kind of I don't know. That's kind of works hand in hand, but it is interesting when you look at this and see the 13.8 price tag that Rashada claims he was promised. And then you say $1 million on signing day. If you get $1 million on signing day, and then just depending on whatever payment plan they had for him, and he gets none of that, and then gets released off his national letter of intent, and then from his NIL deal, I feel like this is going to take forever. Rashada's going to be done with school. Napier will be fired before that, or have signed a contract extension. I'm not calling any shots there, but this will all be over by the time any of this happens. And Florida's not even, as a school and the football program, aren't even, do you call them plaintiffs? I don't know the court words here. They're not being accused of anything.
They would be the defendant.
It's not the defendant. They're not going to be affected at all. It's just the program's going to have to deal with a coach transition, and maybe some blowback in the world of, name, image, and likeness, and how much money they can promise a kid, and a kid looking at Florida a little differently than they did a little bit before. So maybe it's just, what that brand means to the kids in the next 5-6 years or after this thing gets settled. So I'm not a lawyer. I don't know everything about this, but that's how I see it from a college football fan perspective. Like how kids see that brand and that logo changes what happens around the program. And if it's something like this and they find out Rashada was on the money and completely was promised all this stuff, handshake deals, whatever, and didn't get it, that's really rough for that program. That's really going to need their boosters to step up right now to help them out.
I think there were shocking things behind the scenes that maybe weren't massively in the media, but like there's a couple things like they promised to give his dad a job in security if he went to Florida. Like they were going to give Jaden Rashada's dad a job somewhere in the area. And then I
feel like that's been said before with other people.
And speaking of that, how about we talk about how he is using it in the lawsuit that he felt pressured to commit to Florida because he felt like he was told that they were going to take his scholarship away. If that happens, like if that's going to be used in the courts, dude, I think every case could be applied to every college football player for that exact same reason. Like, yeah, of course they're going to pressure you in some way, shape, or form. Be like, hey man, like if you don't commit, like we got to look elsewhere. How like that's got to happen to every single college football
but
player.
does that? I want to hear more language about that. And that'll be interesting. Like that's a great point because that does happen. Like, hey, here's your deadline. Like we will go sign this other guy we know we're going to lose out on if you don't make a decision or whatnot. Like, what does that mean? Losing the scholarship though, like just like the offer itself, like we'll legitimately pull it from like if you commit here and then you do something that's not hand in hand with what we're saying this money's worth or what you'd have to do to get this money, we'll yank it right out from under you. Like, what does that really mean? I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I think Jake, I know we got the spark notes from you last week, but any new thoughts from anything new that was released? Or are you still kind of on the same boat that this just could open up a can of worms?
I was thinking the same thing JP said. I think this could take years if he's really trying to get the 13.8 or whatever it is, but I don't think he will. Part of me sees this as, I don't know, times are changing. College kids can do completely different things than they could 10 years ago. This is now his second official school. I mean, it would be his fourth if you count the decommitment from Miami, from Florida to Arizona State, and now to Georgia. And I don't think he's guaranteed a starting spot next year. So where am I going with all this? Did they just see like, maybe his NFL chances are just kind of dwindling? I don't know. Every kid kind of still thinks he can make it the NFL at the Power 5 level, I think. But maybe he just sees it as, I'm not sure if the NFL money's guaranteed there. What if we just sue him for a bunch? And honestly, I could see them settling for like $3 million in a year and a half from now. Like just trying to set the bar extremely high. They're like, all right, can we just let this go? Like the NCAA just did this settlement with revenue share. Kids can get paid now at a whole different level. Just take $3 million, shut up and leave it. Maybe by his senior year.
I could be done with it.
And now he's got $3 million guaranteed. And who knows if he'll even be a draft stock at that point.
And let this be an eye opener to all college football fans. $13.8 million in this lawsuit for a kid that really never made an impact and fully got into being a Florida Gator. That's the kind of money that's floating around out there for these names and players now. I mean, $13.8 million, that's life-changing money for anybody. And it's especially hanging it over a kid's head who was said in the article to never have had anything like that. It is tough on a 19-year-old kid. But all right, let's move on because we got a lot more to cover. Let's go to the next point, and that is the NCAA versus the House. Obviously, JP, you kind of put this in the notes. Amateurism is dead in college football. Jake just mentioned it. Revenue sharing's on the table. Another thing dropped today where we could have corporate partnerships as a part of these universities.
Gross.
Logos on the jerseys, logos on the field. I cannot stay further away from that for college football. It was just stepping closer to the NFL. But JP, I'll kind of let you give your rundown on the amateurism part.
Yeah, you're going to hear this from just about every college football outlet, whether you're reading articles, listening to podcasts, watching shows, whatever, just what's going on. But it is important to understand that there isn't anything settled on how many people they're paying, how much money they're paying, what supports they're paying. But it is important to realize that this is going to change the sport forever, college athletics forever, and it's going to change the NIL world. Like you're not going to run the same NIL stuff that you have been for the last couple of years of the Wild West. It's going to get even to a crazier world and a crazier college football landscape. But it is important to go over this. Like I didn't want to deep dive into this and like explain everything that was going on and really dive in deep because there's people who are a lot smarter than me that are doing that kind of thing and you're getting it from all angles. I just wanted to come on here and be like, hey, like you just need to understand that this is going on and how it could affect things in the future. And then hopefully in the next couple months, we get a chance, we dive into previews, we dive into the season. We don't have to worry about it for a couple months to a year. And then we can worry about it next March, next April. But it is important to know that this is settled. All the big conferences have agreed to it. It's going to happen. The details are yet to be released. So if you're seeing names, numbers, years, things out there floating around, just make sure you're checking your sources and getting it from the right people because nobody really knows. This isn't completely settled on how they're going to handle it.
Perfect. All right, let's go to the next one. This is a little bit lighter news, but a lot of scheduling came out today. And one of those pieces included what Jake commented on his new Twitter page. Give that a follow at Jay Schaefer CFB. But the Egg Bowl moved back to Black Friday. It will join Iowa, Nebraska, and now Minnesota, Wisconsin also on that day. This used to be on Thanksgiving. This is what everybody watched Thanksgiving night when it came to college football. Now the NFL is going to rule that holiday through and through as well. So
in
this is
Texas
unfortunate.
and Texas A&M.
Yes, that's still exactly. Yep, the good call out. That still exists on Thanksgiving, but
Not this year. I already double checked.
I thought Albert said he doesn't want to do it anymore after this year.
Albert's can shit in his own hand, so who cares what that guy said? Do not invoke his name. But all right, let's go back to the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl. This is a fun game to watch on Thanksgiving. Like, I'm sure you guys have memories. You flip it on after you're in a food coma. This sucks, and I piss on this idea, similar to what happened in the game. JP, what do you think? You think it should join Nebraska, Iowa, and Big Ten football on Black Friday?
This one I think is going to hurt the fan bases more. Maybe they had traditions going on and all that stuff to go along with this.
True.
It doesn't affect me as much, but I did like it being one of the standalone games because Mississippi State's not a team that very often is prime time and rolling, especially in the SEC with their contracts. Ole Miss is going to be a hot ticket this year, so that'd be another. This would be the last. This is the last game of the year. So what you're going to see is Ole Miss either punch their ticket to Atlanta or really solidify their spot in a college football playoff. Or you're going to see a Mississippi State team ruin dreams there in prime time.
Yep.
Now it's just going to bleed into some other games on Friday, which kind of stinks. I really hope that it still gets the spotlight it deserves because rivalries like this are unique and a ton of fun.
Yeah, especially it also has a little bit less of an effect when it's probably going to be a 20 or I'll say 20 comfortably, 20 or more point spread when it comes to this year. I mean, Mississippi State's completely down and we think Ole Miss is on top of the world. But all right, let's move on to the next one. Let's go to click it, please.
Sorry, I was looking at Texas A&M.
Home and home splits with Boise State and App State. This was scheduled today. This is absolutely fantastic for the sport. Boise State will host App State next season, September 27th. And then in 2027, if you can think that far ahead, Boise State will go into App State and play them on the road. So this is very good. This is the two winningest G5 schools in the last decade going head to head. It was pitched originally by a Twitter account he kind of ran a campaign for it. Everybody's wanted it, but he kind of ran a campaign for it in College Football Campus Tour. So shout out to him. But this will be awesome. And this is honestly one of the best ads I've ever seen for a graphic. So I had to steal it from Twitter.
Great graphic. Shout out.
The kid who made it, their director of creative services, liked our tweet earlier today. So if by God's chance you're in here, oh my God, this looks absolutely fantastic. So shout out him. But this is good, Jake. What do you think? Do you think this should be a stick every year, these two programs?
Yeah, I mean, it's always good. I think when we need more ways, we've talked about it numerous times on this show, how can we shed more light on the G5 and why not put the best two or one of the best two in the G5 and go head to head outside of conference play and see what we can come up with. Although App State, pretty sure they also have NC State on their schedule in 2025. What I saw yesterday, I think they're supposed to travel to App, but they're switching it to them going to Raleigh. So already a tough non-con to start 2025 for App State. But yeah, man, I think this is a great matchup, and I hope more G5s try to do this, I suppose.
This will be a battle, and I hope it takes a lot of the spotlight up when they match up. But all right, let's go to the most important part, which we have to spend a lot of time on because there was so much information released. College Football 25. Everybody wants to talk about it. We already got 2 lingering questions on the comments. Let's just go through. I'm going to list off all the notes I took from both Bud Elliott and Andy Staples because they both did a fantastic job covering it. Unfortunately, we are not subscribers to Extra Points, so we will get the free version of Matt Brown's article tomorrow, which we will read up on. But here's what I got from Staples. The power meter when you throw the ball, which involves in gameplay, which we get a full deep dive tomorrow on their YouTube channel, so everybody's pumped for that. So you will see a power meter when you throw the football in College Football 25, which should be interesting to learn. So there's going to be a learning curve. And then Bud Elliott, I got a lot more information from this one. I think everybody has said it's not a Madden reskin, and there's an audience out there that really does think that that's what this is going to be. However, everybody who's played it said it's not. It's made by college football sickos, so that would be groups like us that diverge our entire lives into watching this sport. Versions of different songs for certain opponents. Hopefully that will lead to something like spooky version of Rocky Top when you play with Tennessee. Schools were very involved in the making of the game, and all the content creation around each stadium. So that's very good. He says it's really different than Matt. He said really different was the direct quote. So that's a plus for all you haters. He said the run game makes sense and you have to make cuts and hit holes on time. The run game will not work, but it's very important. And that includes RPOs and read options. And the RPO and read options have a button change. So when you play NCAA 14 and you click the button to hand it off instead of pull it out, you actually have to click the button if you want to pull and go to your other options, which is going to be another learning curve piece for the game. And he said home field advantage is incredibly strong. You won't be able to see routes. You won't be able to see icons of which receivers to throw to in tougher environments. So that's going to be your Penn States, Ohio States, your Michigans, your Georgia, your Tennessees. You're going to struggle playing as the road team there. For Road to Glory, people are extremely pissed, but you will not start in high school. You have to keep your grades up.
Oh no! What are you gonna do?
Oh my god!
Oh gosh, you're not gonna be able to score 65 touchdowns in a game against computer-generated Centerville freaking Vikings or whatever they make up for those schools. Like, who cares?
Couldn't agree more.
Like, it's oh my god, that one I just don't get. That if that ruins your college football 25 experience, I am sorry, but you do not love this football.
You guys think I'm picky? There's a picky audience out there with the mascot mashups and
they make you look as Oprah, like, man.
I'll play Road to Glory like once and for like 2 years or like maybe one full like 4 years in school, and then I'll be done with it. I'll never play the game mode again. Like, it's not why I play college football. To me, also being older and be like, wow, look what could have been if I wasn't 5'9", slow, built like a stump. Like, it's not as cool. It's more cool when you're a young kid and you're dreaming of it. But like going back, it's kind of odd to me. I'd rather build the dynasties and do the ultimate team stuff.
Last few points that we had from the Bud Elliott interview. Recruiting and coaching, you have 3 different levels you can pick for your coaches. You can be a developer, a tactician, or a recruiter. I'm sure those will matter a ton within your dynasties if you create a coach or if you just create a coach in general. And then the overall presentation, I did get an answer from somebody who did play the game. I believe he's a part of the Orlando media, and he said it's kind of similar to the NCAA 10-score bug, if you were wondering about that. There are licensed songs in the game, including Mo Bamba, so that's fun. That could be a really cool addition to playing in road environments. That could be I think there was a couple other ones listed on that graphic that I can't remember off the top of my head. I've heard Neck is in the game. I'm sure it does not include the lyrics, but that would be hilarious. Stadium light shows are in the game. There are no X Factor. However, there are special abilities, as you can see in this image with Carson Beck. And then players can lose those special abilities during the game if they're playing in tougher environments, or if they're younger, they won't have more access to them. And then he said that new kicking controls are tough at first. So if you're not a good kicker in college or in football video games, then you might struggle with it. And he said the weather matters quite a bit. So there is no ESPN branding, which is confirmed now, which absolutely sucks. But I just named off a ton of stuff. What do you guys think? What sticks out to you the most? What are you most excited about, or what are you most worried about from the information that we heard yesterday, JP?
Run game, run game, run game. I don't know about you guys, but I think I talked about this in our group chat the other day. I was like, I don't know what, like, I personally thought the run game in college football games is always so much more fun than the pass game. Pass game got cheeky and a little bit like just kind of BS and some stuff going on. The ball skills weren't great. So like the run game was always so much fun to me. Also, another thing he kind of talked about, it is tougher to run the triple options, tougher to run the spread option. You're not just going to show up like in 14 and have everybody marked out. He said they'll be identified in some way, but a little tougher way. You're not going to be able to just break off 50-yard runs anytime you run the play against a computer or another user because you're running the read option through the gun. Like, that's out of the way. Love that. Keep people who can't play the game well. Because if you're playing somebody competitively or you're playing your buddy, like, and they could just run some cheese plays, that's frustrating. Make it tough to run it because it's an incredibly hard offense to run, and it should reflect that. Just the run game being tough and actually knowing that if you're running in the zone scheme, knowing where to hit the hole, if you're running a stretch play, just getting off the ass of a tackle and making sure you're staying aligned to that stuff's really cool to me, like actually understanding the sport. One question I do have before Jake kind of gets that, I haven't heard much on defense. Like, do we have ball hawk skills as defense? Are we able to go get the football? How does the defensive line work? Just things like that. Like, is it really tough to pick apart a defensive spots, or is it a little, it's an offensive based game? That's what I'm curious on.
Jake, what do you got? What excited you? What kind of, if anything, I don't think there's anything that jumped off the page that made me go, oh, God damn it. But what are you excited about, or what do you not like from what we've heard?
No, I think it's encouraging to hear that it's not a Madden reskin. Not that I ever thought it was going to be, but just for like
I
you
think
said,
we all
Marks,
did. We all had our
it's like,
thoughts, but to hear this profoundly not a Madden
yeah,
reskin is huge, and that just
yep.
that like
Yep.
And
turned up the nozzle of excitement.
it sounds like it's going to be a pretty difficult game, to be honest, but it's cool
That's
that
what I
it's
thought too.
in its own way. You know, it's going to be different than Madden. I'm kind of interested to see a couple of questions. Cover three, the other guys asked Bud, and one of them was like, I think Tom asked him, does the linebacker pick everything off? Because I think you see that a lot in Madden, but you never saw
Yeah.
like NCAA 14. They drop everything.
But in
And
13, they jump 16 or 45
yes,
inches in the air and they can pick off
yep.
anything.
He made it seem like they pick it off a decent amount, but like it's still college. They're gonna drop a few. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that part needs to be more consistent to what a college player is. And I know Tom definitely asked him this question: what the recruiting is like in dynasty mode, which I think JP, me, you, Parks, like we're pretty excited about just
Yeah.
dynasty in general, and it's gonna be pretty intensive, which is going to be awesome because he's like, I don't think you're going to be able to take Ohio to a national championship in 3 years. It's going to take,
That
especially in the modern day of college
Yeah.
football, it's probably going to take a decade. That's pretty damn cool. I'm interested to see, how big are these guys? Like, how big of sickos are some of these guys? Do we start to see like, we posted our graphic the other day. Who do you rebuild with? Do you start to see people get away from that because they get so frustrated? It takes so long to build their team up, or if they're just like any corny dude and they just play on junior varsity or whatever it is, I suppose you could do that.
Army's
but
won 15 national titles in a row on
yeah,
on freshman difficulty and beating Alabama 65-4.
we've seen that a time or two, but
Jake,
that's what I thought was pretty cool.
I'm happy you touched on the recruiting because I know you were very bullish on 12-13 style recruiting and
Yeah.
not 14. You didn't like the points
12's
allocation.
tough.
You like wanted to bring it like make it tougher. You hit certain topics. You have to build this part of your program and stuff like that. I think that's really cool because that was something you really, really, really wanted.
I want to find a happy medium. Like, I think 12 just takes up so much time, and you're offering them for on-campus visits, and there's a ton of different ways you can go after kids. And then 14, it's like just max out the 500 points on the kid, and then you'll probably get them. Like, no, you gotta let's be selective about how we recruit the kid. I don't know. I would rather more so have it hard because I think, and you guys, I've been on this podcast and numerous times say like play 12 on Heisman with an average team. Like I played on Iowa State and they're not good on that game. It's very difficult to win right away. And then on top of that, you're trying to recruit every week and like just get like a 4 stars, a big win at that kind of program. I'm interested to see if it goes back to that kind of way.
Let's go to the questions, and then I will give my one take I had. But this one came in very early. Do we think we'll be able to edit coaches in the game? Yes, I think you'll be able to create a coach in the game at the beginning of a dynasty, but you won't be able to. Well, you have to. You have to have a coach option.
Did you hear Bud say that you're not going to be able to like edit players or create players? Like you can't add Arch Manning to the game.
Well, because he didn't opt into the game, but I think he's saying like, can you edit coaches like go in?
But you have to select your coach and create him. I assume you will not be able to type in Deion Sanders and make that your coach. You'll have to make him Peon Panders if you really want to make it close. Yeah. But you will have the ability to make a coach. I mean, that's one of your first selections when you start a dynasty, and to have to select from the tactician, recruiter, developer, then that has to be an option in there. I would assume you'll be able to make a coach. It's just not going to be able to match the name. Another one, as an equipment guru on sports games, I want updated cleats and accessories. I think with the updates we've seen, the hoodies under the jerseys, the knees, the pants above the knees, I think we're going to see that. I don't know if you'll be able to change cleats based upon their schools, each deal with Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, Jordan, which are all in the game. But that would be a nice touch. What do you think, JP?
I think that's road to glory, road to glory, road to glory. Like if you love road to glory, you love accessories in the games and stuff like that.
That's
Otherwise,
true.
It's not going to affect you. I'm sure you could go into your dynasty and like deck out your quarterback if you wanted him to have an extra towel and wear gloves or whatnot, and just have fun with it that way. That'll be great for like YouTubers and streamers who do that and they make storylines along with their dynasty and they kind of give their guys personalities and stuff. That'll be great for them. Otherwise, like, yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, I would agree. But equipment is an important part. You don't want them to look like noobs out there in maximum football, but shout out to that team too. They've kept us somewhat sane. But I will give my last thoughts. I've been working on a little thing called self-awareness. I think I realized that my presentation, I don't know, my love or obsession with the presentation of the game all refers to how much it feels like real life when I'm playing it. Like even now, I'll fully admit it, I'm a grown ass man, but sometimes when I'm playing college football revamped, I'll play music on my phone that would be similar to the music I'd hear in the stadium. I'm just a sick bastard. It is what it is, and I can admit it. It's probably some form of a mental disability, but that's how I am. And so I'm excited to hear Mo Bamba. I'm excited that rebuilds are going to take longer at smaller schools. I'm okay going 3-9. I am, because North Texas would probably go 3-9 if I open up
part of the
Virginia
journey.
Tech on the road. That's exactly right. So that's what I'm most excited for. I'm excited that it's going to be challenging at the smaller schools, and I will spend a majority of my time there. I'm not really into the road to glory, the online, the ultimate team play. So I really just needed to hear about Dynasty. But we will update you on anything tomorrow. I'm sure we'll get some good clips out of the gameplay deep dive scheduled for 9:55 a.m. start time. I'm sure it'll start at 10 Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. So we are excited for that. And we will be back with more College Football 25 news tomorrow. All right, let's go and talk about No Rivals. This is our, I don't want to say presenting sponsor, but our first partner, and we have a loving relationship with them. They are releasing new stuff by the day, including Tarleton State. This is a very small Texas school that's kind of up and coming. They joined the FCS and has got a good brand. They released Tarleton State stuff this week. They're available right now, $38. Use code PTFS for free shipping. So don't worry about the extra $8 that you'd have to spend if you weren't watching our show. They also released a new Tennessee hat, snuck in the upper left there. Black script, vintage look, still embroidered, raised off the hat, all the good stuff. The cleanest look you'll ever need is on a No Rivals cap. Bryce Harper seen wearing a Tennessee No Rivals cap 2 days ago. That's awesome. And you're going to see more celebrities wear them as they learn about them. You're just getting on the train early like we are. So give them a look. Shout out to our partners. Use code PTFS every time you order on norivals.com. Shop norivals.com. Order a hat. Tag us in it when it gets there. And we love them and we love you. All right, let's go to the trivia part of tonight's episode. JP's got some questions ready to go for us. So JP, I'll turn it over to you and hopefully I'll have answers.
Yeah, this is gonna be a blast. Again, don't overthink it, just have a little fun with it. But I thought these were cool. The first two are very, very similar to each other. I think once you hear the first one, doing the second one will be pretty easy here. So 1v1 here, or however you want to do it, raise your hand, do whatever you got to do. Here's your first question. Feel free to answer in the comments as well. Don't open the comments if they answer before you have an answer. This Mountain West school is the only one to be a football-only member.
Like they're in a...
They only play football in the Mountain West. Everything else is in a different conference.
No, that's not it. No.
It's got to be somebody that's in the Summit for everything else, right?
No, they're not in the
Feel free to answer in the comments. This one is a doozy.
Got it. San Jose State. They're in the
that is not. That's wrong.
What?
That's wrong.
San Jose State's in the WAC, and I'm almost positive, aren't they?
That's not true.
Aren't really? Are they not? Okay. God, I'm an idiot.
I'll give it a countdown from 5 here. 5, 4.
I'll just say
3.
Boise State, but it's wrong. I don't know it.
Yeah, 2.
I thought
1.
Fresno State, but I don't. That's not.
How about your fighting Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii? They play.
Yeah, they're in the Big West.
And the Big West, yeah. So they play
the
football only in the Mountain West.
Damn it. That's a good question.
Yeah,
Damn it.
It's a hell of a question. Now, second question, very same lines. These American Athletic Conference teams are football only members. There are 2.
Army?
I forgot about Army. and then Navy. I would have
Bang, there you go. See, I thought the second, Army and Navy both. They both
forgot
Wow,
Army.
damn
I
it.
forgot.
Shout
I
out
can't
Army
believe
and
you
Navy.
pulled. Can't believe you pulled Army first. They're just in the conference for the first time. I
Yeah.
wasn't even thinking Army.
They
Then you're
both
like-
play Patriot League sports, everything else but football, but they play in the American Athletic Conference.
That's a good question too. But
Yeah.
we split it, Jake. That's 1-1.
Yeah, it's a good one. Third question here. The winged helmet originated at this FCS program.
Delaware.
The wing
No, but
helmet.
they do wear a winged helmet.
That was why I guessed it.
Is that like what Michigan wears?
Yes.
That's the winged helmet. For
That's the
clarifications, that's what
Princeton.
Michigan wears. Yes,
Princeton.
Princeton.
Yeah.
Correct. It is Princeton.
He's
Princeton started it.
searching it up. He's Googling
Their,
it.
their
My
head,
hands are free.
their head coach was then hired at Michigan, and he brought the winged helmet with him. Ready? Next question. This Big 12 school was 3-0 in BCS games in the BCS era, with their last appearance in 2012. Which school is this?
Baylor? I don't know if
It
they
It's
lost
not
one.
Baylor.
That's what I was gonna say. Last appearance in 2012.
Last appearance in
That-
2012, they did not lose any BCS games within the BCS era.
Would it be West
Oklahoma
Virginia?
State?
Ding, 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 ding. West Virginia is your
Oh.
answer. Their last appearance in 2012. They had never lost a BCS bowl game.
It's a trick question.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
one.
that's what I
Last
was
question
thinking,
here.
trick question.
This one I think might be tough. I don't know. I could see it going both ways, but I'm going to guess it's going to be tough. This is my last trivia question of the night. There are 3 rivalry games with a trophy called the Governor's Cup. Georgia versus Georgia Tech, Kansas versus Kansas State, and this other rivalry.
Isn't it Washington versus Washington State?
That is the Apple Cup.
Yeah, but I thought the trophy was called the Governor's something.
You said sorry. What was the first two you named? Georgia and Georgia Tech. Is that what you
Kansas
said?
and Kansas State.
State.
There's one more.
It's got to be in Texas, right?
I will say these are big schools. They are power programs.
I was just say what's Rice? What's Rice and SMU? What do they play for? Big school.
Get the conference?
They're in 2 different conferences.
You
Okay.
gotta think. Obviously, you gotta think same state too. So it's not. Oh, two different
UCF and Miami? Just throwing them out there.
Yeah, I was thinking 2 different conferences.
The Governor's Cup.
Well, I can't reach the other one.
What is no Oklahoma? Nope, that's Kansas. I'm just thinking of all the states. I'm not even thinking schools. I'm thinking states right now is what I'm
Okay,
trying to.
Well, one of them is a school with the state in the name. The other is not.
Utah, BYU. No.
No, that's the whole. I don't know.
Holy
That's-
War.
Yeah.
It's not the Holy War. 5 seconds.
It's not the Holy
4.
War.
I'm out. I don't have it.
3, 2.
Yeah, I don't. I said Rice and SMU.
Kentucky and Louisville play for the Governor's Cup.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah, that wouldn't have. God, I was thinking of all the state. I was thinking of Mississippi, Alabama, glossed right
Yeah.
over Kentucky.
I thought that one's a tough one. I didn't know if you knew what Kansas State's trophy was called. Or
I do appreciate the
I thought-
mini helmet answer, though.
Yeah,
I
I
thought they
I
were
just
the-
realized I had those. I was like, yeah, I should just pull those out for the answer. That's a pretty good one. But that's the
thought they were
trivia
the-
for the week. I thought those were good questions.
They were good and they were tough. Right. What did we get? 2 or the 3? 2.5 of them?
You got West Virginia, Princeton, and Army Navy. So you got 3 of the 5.
All right. Jake got me this week, but we will be back. We'll be back. It's because he didn't prepare. I think I over prepared. that we'll just go with that. But all right, let's go on to one of the main points of tonight's episode, and that is college football hot takes. How many do you guys have? I think I have 2. So what, 2?
Problem is I don't even know how hot my takes
Jake,
are.
half your takes are red hot anyway. So just
That's fair.
share a thought.
Jeez. Okay, apparently they're
Does
red
Jake say
hot.
hot takes or just a lot of dumb shit?
Yeah, just that's a good question. That's a fair question. I think it's just late night thoughts. We'll just get a text. Late night for Jake is 9:45, everybody, but we just get that
That's
text. It's
true.
like, damn, really? But all right, let's lead it off. JP, I'll give you the floor first. Give us your hot take and let us react.
Perfect. All right. This one, I'm going to save my hottest one go second. My first one is I don't hate Texas. I feel like everybody in the world hates Texas. I think everybody in college football hates Texas. I personally don't have any vendetta. Nothing against the University of Texas. Nothing against the football program. I don't hate Texas. That might be
Don't
a
put
hot
me
take
on
for
that.
some people. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people hate Texas, and I just don't feel the same. I don't like them. They're not
I
one
would
of
agree.
my
I don't
side
think you're
teams.
wrong.
but
I don't think you're wrong. I think a lot of people hate Texas, but I don't think Iowa's played Texas enough for you to develop that hatred as a child or
No, we
growing up.
played a couple bowl games here or there, but like I also really like Sark. I like Ewers as a quarterback. I think he's a good. I know he comes off like a good dude. Like no one's ever had any problems with him.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers. I like him.
Fun receiving rooms to watch. Like I don't know. There's nothing about that program that's really. Maybe the fans could be a little insane, but who can't?
I think the video of Sark like a few years back in their bowl game screaming at that TV guy also is another hatred piece for some people, or at least added to their existing hatred. Like that
That's
video. He was being such a dick in that video. So
That's
I think that's common grounds. Jake, do you hate Texas that much? I don't know. I don't feel like you hate that many teams.
I mean, they're kind of the sole reason where I feel like we're in realignment because they
That's
tried
true.
to like dismantle the Big 12 and they got their own television network. And then they were like seen as, so what did we do wrong? We didn't do anything wrong. Why are you guys treating us like this? Why are you guys treating us so mean? I don't know. But I don't hate Texas
That's true.
as a team that much, I suppose.
Still the only standalone team, unless you want to count Notre Dame and NBC, but still one of the only standalone teams to have their own network. The Longhorns.
They still have that? The SEC's allowing them to keep that?
No.
I don't think so. It's an ESPN product.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
No, they do not have that anymore. But they were one of the only teams, and that was another reason people hated them. So I don't think that's a bad hot take, but that is crazy not to hate Texas. I feel like you're in the minority there, so that works. Jake, let's go down and give us a hot take. Give us a thought.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll change it, but I'll tell you what my original thought was. My hot take this year is there will not be none of the newcomers in their respective conferences will make the conference title. I was gonna say win the conference title, but none of the newcomers in their respective conferences will make the conference title. That is
so no Texas.
Oklahoma and Texas. That's Oregon, USC, UCLA, Washington, Colorado, Arizona State, Arizona,
Utah, SMU, Cal,
SMU, Cal,
Stanford.
That's a hot take.
I was gonna say win, and I was like, is it really that bold? That could still kind of be a hot take, couldn't it? Because Texas is second.
But I feel like
Oregon's
can Oregon State make the Mountain West title?
Oregon State. Yeah,
no,
I guess I
wasn't
considering them, but that's
I don't think that plays. I also don't think they're the best team in the Mountain West.
With teams, that's previews talk right there. Yeah. But let's talk about the Texas side of that and the Oregon side of that because they're both heavily
Utah's first in the Big 12.
That's a piping hot take, like on the burner, full blast, right?
One of them's gonna get in. I just feel like it. You also took one second in odds, one first in odds, second in odds in the Big 10.
Yeah.
ACC, your highest one is SMU. What were they? 6?
They were at 7.
Somewhere in there. 7.
Yeah.
So you're clear there. You're in hot water in the Big 10. You're in hot water in the Big 12.
Am I really?
You're more in hot water in the SEC.
Here's my thoughts. I think Texas will be pretty good this year. But I mean, it's going to be an adjustment. We're not even counting out. We're counting out Oklahoma. It's going to be an adjustment to playing an SEC school each and every single week. Like you don't. I know the Big 12. You necessarily didn't have any Saturday off, but the talent level is much higher, and the atmospheres are much different, and all that kind of. And then Oregon, I don't know. I think if anybody has the best shot, I think Oregon does. I hate to say this take because I told you guys how high I am on Oregon, and I'll probably pick them to win the Big 10. But who knows?
He's gonna bet both sides of the board here.
How can both those things be true? How can you believe in that take and then say?
We're saying hot takes. It's not like something I'd put my life savings on.
Well, you gotta believe it.
Yeah, I think
I can believe.
Here we go.
I can believe it, but I also like Oregon to win.
But wouldn't you put money on something that you believe in? So how can you believe that then no one's going to make it, but you also believe they're going to make it?
You're just saying things.
A little contradiction here.
Yeah. Net zero.
We got silence in the studio.
Parks, you go to yours.
All right. I'll start with a little lighter one. It's definitely not going to contradict my other thoughts, but
I'm asked to bring in a hot take, and then now I'll just
pick the other side of
it. I haven't officially. I just said I really like Oregon. It's still May.
But all right, I'll give a lighter one. I think Big Noon is a better TV and fan experience to watch than a 2:30 SEC CBS game. That's my hot take. I would rather
Really?
watch a Big Noon game than I would the 2:30 SEC Gary
That's
Daniels
insanity.
game.
You're not going to
That's
get that anymore,
insanity.
so it's nothing to worry about. But
I know, but I
To say
I'm
you'd
still gonna
rather
get,
you'd
I would.
rather watch Colorado TCU on Big Noon than you would watch Alabama at Tennessee on a Saturday night or at 2:30.
I think it's a better, more enjoyable experience watching Gus Johnson and
if you
Joel
think
Klatt.
Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt are better than Gary Danielson and that crew, you are lost your marbles.
is it Brad Nessler? Is it Brad Nessler? On
Just
CBS.
beside yourself. Like that's just insane. No one
That's,
believes
I,
that.
I truly believe it. I would
don't-
rather watch Big Noon.
I don't like
That's
the-
just weird. And you might
Or-
just have a hard on for Klatt, but I don't know what it is.
I used to before his
Like, it's
Colorado
just-
fandom came out last year, but yeah, I mean, I
That's
think it's
just not
I think
even
it's
a
a
real
better
thing.
watch. I
It's
don't maybe not the
It's not
football on
even
the field,
close.
not the teams. This doesn't involve the teams, but I
It's
think
not
it's
even
a
the
better
presentation.
experience.
You're
I
telling
do.
me a Big Noon's got a better. No, it doesn't. Like it
It
doesn't.
does. It does. That's my hot take. I believe it.
CBS.
That's-
How come? Well, CBS.
If that's
is the
light,
only-
then your next one is like pour gasoline.
My
CBS
next one
is
is
the
pour
only,
gasoline on the fire.
What'd you
Big
say,
Noon.
Jake?
I said Big Noon's the one who needs a pregame show. CBS doesn't. They know they're ready at 2:30. You're tuning in. They don't need a Big Noon kickoff or a college game day. CBS is ready to roll.
CBS has 60 minutes on. That's why they don't have a goddamn
Guys, it's literally
pregame kickoff show.
the best we've ever had. It's the best of the best. It was
Oh.
literally the best they could ever get.
Has
I don't
CBS?
know.
They've never had a national title. No, because ESPN always has the national title.
Yeah.
I was trying to think.
I believe that's
Well,
changing though.
Fox had it a long time ago.
Yeah. Back with the
Correct.
very noisy scoreboard. That
Yeah, it's like-
that one.
It's
And
like
only
robotic.
only the elite of the elite know the scoreboard sounds I just made. But all right,
That's
JP,
like,
background to you.
That's like Cletus when Cletus came out in the NFL, and that was a loud scoreboard too. This is my last one. I think Reese would appreciate this one / hate it. Won't back down at Florida is really not that cool.
Whoa. Yeah, Reese would hate that take.
It's not that cool. Like it's fine. You sing a song together. Like it's not that. I don't think.
What do
it's
they
that
think
cool.
about? What do you think they'd say about Iowa, JP?
They probably think it's some liberal bullshit that they just put on for some like clicks on media, probably. And maybe they can believe that. I just don't think Won't Back Down is that cool. I think the songs play too much. I don't think it's that cool of a song to have a whole stadium singing. I think great artist, great program, great environment. Just that thing as a whole is not something I care to tune into. I don't know
Okay.
what it is. It's
How do
it's
we
just
feel
not
about
there for
Mr.
me.
Brightside at Michigan then?
Mr. Brightside can't be claimed by Michigan because literally everybody in the country does that. Like that's one of those songs that can't. That's like Sweet Caroline can't be claimed by anybody across the country because everybody sings it at some point anytime it comes on.
I don't know. I feel like if you took a survey of college football fans and you said like, which program do you associate Mr. Brightside with? They'd
Does that
say
have
Michigan.
Does that have more to do with Michigan being good in the last 3 years than it does them claiming Mr. Brightside how fun it is? Because if
Fair
they
enough.
were bad, you wouldn't say that.
That's fair enough. That's
Yeah.
fair enough. But Florida's bad and they still claim Tom Petty.
Well, yeah, they can have it. I don't think anybody else does that specific thing. I just don't think it's that cool.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry.
That
Not really.
I think
Sorry,
that would be a
Florida
hot take. Reese would have some words to say about that. We might have to bring that back up. But
It's just
all
not
right,
cool.
down to Jake. Jake, give us one that is you're true to.
You guys are more creative than I had like another 2024 thing, but I'm throwing that away. We'll keep this uniform base. So Parks, you'll like my take, but you'll like that I'm making it uniform based, but you might hate my take. I think that the traditional uniform of like Alabama, Penn State, even Michigan's gone a little alternate sometimes. Who else? USC, Texas. I think that's better than any alternate uniform in college football. I would rather have two set uniforms, a home and away that's just traditional. And I get like even like Iowa State, for instance, we've never had like a set uniform. We've barely had a set logo. So I get like schools like that, but I just love the tradition, like with Texas, with Penn State, with Alabama, the number on the helmet. They never change. They never wear alternate uniforms. I like that more than an alternate.
The traditions and like those uniforms have their place. But I will say Alabama's isn't that great looking.
I think what a great take.
Penn
JP.
State's is 1,000,000,000% more sharp. Notre Dame's 1,000,000,000% more sharp.
Notre
Just the
Dame's a good
colors
one.
work a lot better than the.
But even
Crimson
Notre
and
Dame
white.
wears they always wear
Crimson
like
cream, whatever
they
you call
always
it.
change their uniform up for some special.
Yeah, but
game
like if you
each and
grab
every
me
year.
the gold, blue, gold for Notre Dame, it looks a zillion times
Yeah.
better than the crimson,
But
white that Alabama
I'm
wears.
saying
Like
kinda like
I think numbers on the helmet sucks. Sorry.
I'm over it.
it.
JP's spewing fire. That's
I
a
don't
great
think
take
Alabama's
too.
is that cool. I don't think you should change them, but I
I
don't
love
think
it.
they're that great, and I don't think they should get the love for just because you didn't change them. They're iconic, but I'm saying like they shouldn't get love
Yeah.
as the best uniform in college football when they're not that good. They really aren't.
I have a
Has
couple of hot
anybody-
takes when it comes
has
to uniforms
anybody-
too.
Has anybody ever referred to Alabama as the best uniform in college
Absolutely.
football?
Go to any list of
Yes.
best college football uniforms, and Alabama will be on
100%.
every single one, along with
if
Notre
you
Dame
asked
and
your
Penn State.
boy, I bet you if you asked your boy Pate, he would list them in best college football uniforms, 100%. Because people love the classic look. People love it, and I'm
that's
actually
fine,
kind of.
but it's just
That's-
not that cool.
I just don't think it should be. I don't like when schools rotate through. So I don't like an Oregon where it's never the same. I don't mind. I actually prefer it if a school has one different look that they roll out once. So if Tennessee wears the white and orange every game for home, and then they roll out the blacks once a year, that's cool. Like I still think you're very set in your ways, but maybe in a big game or your homecoming game, you wear something different. I agree though, JP, and hit the nail on the head. And I also am on an island. I hate plain helmets. I hate them. Put them on something. Decals are so cool. You have so many cool retro
I'm
logos.
fine with some of
I
them.
cannot
like Penn
stand
State.
plain helmets.
I think Penn State's is sharp.
Bro,
Yeah,
it
I
just
just
looks
think
like a high
that-
school football practice.
That dark blue and white looks good, I
Yep.
think. I
Yep.
just think the colors work a lot better than the crimson and white at Alabama. But like,
Dude,
does
If they
the
did a
gold work
lion,
for you
a
at
Nittany
Notre Dame?
lion? No, damn it! I like it when they put the clover on there. I put something on there to
The
match the
Golden
rest of the
Dome.
uniform.
Just
That-
stay away
that
from the
actually might-
logo on one
The
side,
Golden
numbers on the
Dome
other.
might actually
Good.
be the most
Good take.
iconic helmet in college football.
Yeah, but there's
Yeah, it
multiple
probably
schools that
is.
have a plain
And
gold
Michigan's.
helmet. There's
Not like
multiple schools
that.
that
Not the
not
Golden
like
Dome.
a shiny gold, but like
Not the
Army wears
Golden
one,
Dome.
Boston College wears one. Like there are
Yeah.
schools that could they need to do so much more shit with their helmet. I cannot stand a plain helmet, and that could be a hot take in itself. My last one. This is a 2024 one as well.
This is insane.
I think-
there's no way this is bigger than.
I think Oklahoma could make the SEC title. I'll say it
Okay,
out
it's
loud.
not as bad as I thought.
It's
it was gonna
funny.
be.
It's funny you said that because my original hot take was going to be Jackson Arnold was going to lead the SEC in passing, but I
Yeah,
still didn't have them making the title. But yeah, there you go.
we can piggyback on it. I
It's
think
definitely hot.
I like Brett Venables. I've always been a believer in his product. He hasn't been able to put it together, but he's shown the ability to win a big game. And I think maybe he just needs a Jackson Arnold show and he'll get that defense right. And so I think that they're going to be a bigger player in the SEC than people realize.
Okay.
So that's my last
I
take.
think that's fair. I don't think you're. I mean, it's hot for sure, just based on where they're at and how good the SEC is. But it's not worse than the first one.
And it might be another answer that somebody comes up with later in the show when it comes to the mailbag. But did anybody else have any more hot takes before we go to the mailbag? That was it? All right, let's do it. Let's answer some questions. We had 8 submitted. Let's start with the X version. This one came from Let There Be Football at Give Us Football. Is Ohio State the undisputed best roster headed into week 1 of college football? JP, answer. I agree.
Undisputed
Schaefer.
is not the word.
Undisputed, yeah, not even close. I
No.
don't think it's the best roster heading into week 1. It's the flashiest. That's the way I put it. I think it's got the biggest names in the sport right now with Judkins, Downs, Henderson, you kind of name it, and Buka. But no, it is not the best roster.
Let me ask you this. Who is?
I mean,
Georgia
come
or
on.
Texas.
If anybody religiously watched this show, they'd probably call me a Georgia homer, even though I've never been to the state of Georgia.
Right.
Yeah, Georgia is easily the best roster in college football.
JP?
I shouldn't say
Georgia or
easily,
Texas,
lightly.
I think, have 2 of the best rosters in the country.
I would throw Oregon in there too. I would put Oregon right up next to Ohio State, especially experience-wise. So there's your answer. I had Georgia down too. I mean, look at the roster top to bottom. It's ridiculous. They returned Beck, Ra Thompson, Dom Lovett, Dylan Bell, and then you replace Brock Bowers with Oscar Delp, who's also a stud. Sounds good. And you replaced three linemen, both on defense and offense. So I'm giving it to Georgia as well. All right, to the next question. This one came from Connor, who submitted two. Do we actually expect Ryan Day to lead OSU to the championship with this roster, or is it going to be another year of doing less with more? JP.
I hate the Ryan Day slander that we always get in the sport.
I do too.
To say doing less with more would say he's winning 9, 10 maximum games a year. The guy's winning 11, 12, fight for national titles. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they make a semifinal. They'll go to the college football playoff semifinals. I'm not sure where. I haven't solidified my playoff field. I haven't solidified my national champion, my national title game, anything. I think they're in that 4, though. So no, I don't think so. And what is your expectation now that 12 teams get in? It's every year. Is it semifinals every year? Is it playing for a national title every other year? I just want to know what Ohio State fans think of.
So I think your answer there would be yes, right? We do expect Ryan Day. Okay. I'm on that train too.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Everything he says. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, to say that it's championship or bust is so extreme when you play 16 games, especially. But I think the expectation could be to make the 12-team playoff at the least. And then obviously I think they're good enough to get to the championship game, but it's also going to depend on draw, and it's also going to depend on matchups. You're playing 3.
It's going to depend on health.
Yeah, maybe 2, I guess, if they get the bye. But you're playing 3 straight games to get to a national title. Like, it's going to depend on who you play and how healthy you are. So, I mean, yeah definitely.
Quarterback depth more than ever matters. Like, some of the offensive kids run in college, you're going to need quarterback health. You're going to need interior line health on the defensive side. You're going to need back end health. Like, Ohio State has that depth. So, yeah, he have more than most people? Yeah, but doing less, I don't think is where he'll end up. I think he'll be right on the expectation, if not
exceeding. Is doing less losing the first round?
I think it's
I think that's
either not making it in or getting bounced immediately. You got to win a playoff game if you're
I mean, everything rides on the Michigan game, right? I think if they make the Big Ten title, even losing Michigan, which is also possible now, I mean, we're going to have a different conversation come Ryan Day here, especially with the loaded roster. I mean, we get asked if they have the best roster in college football, and then we get asked, are they going to not do it again? It's like, they're good, it looks like they're going to do it. I think they're in everybody's top 5 from back what I remember for a reason. So good question there. All right, another one came from Connor. This one's in regards to Kentucky. Also, what is your guys' Kentucky expectations? He's excited for Vandergriff, but he also doesn't have a lot of tape to go off of. If you're not familiar with who that is, Vandergriff, backup quarterback for Georgia. He saw some time, not a lot of time, but he's going to start at quarterback for Mark Stoops squads this year. Jake, what do you think on Kentucky? Pre-SEC preview episode, what do you think on Kentucky?
Yeah, I think the expectations can still remain the same, even with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma. I want to see if the receiver room takes another step. I think that's kind of what they lack, is that big playmaking ability. I think we don't have a lot of tape on Vandegrift, but if the receivers take a next step, I think that's going to help his development. Mark Stoops is going to be able to run the football, but I just think that they have talent in that receiver room with Brown and everybody else. So can they find that definitive number one option? I think that could win them. I don't know. That could be the difference between 8 to 9 wins or 9 to 10, which I think would be a big improvement for Kentucky.
All right, JP, give us your Kentucky expectations.
6 to 7 wins, like right in the middle of it. Just lose the games you're supposed to lose, win the games you're supposed to win, maybe a slip up. I don't think you'll get any big upsets out of this team. I think they're solid. I think they're just a product of a schedule that's a little tough. And I think they're a product of a school that's not going to be able to handle the SEC the way they would like to, maybe at the top end.
Yeah, this was a bit of an eye-opening schedule to me, not because of jump off the page non-conference opponents, but they do play Louisville, and you do bring an Ohio team in, which, Jake, I'm sure you can attest to, is not maybe the easiest game in the world.
I'll say it again. I think Kentucky's going to have they'll be okay.
I'll say that is a bad omen. If you're a Kentucky fan, you turn the show off and go at Jake.
You can click this now in the middle of May. I think Kentucky will be all right.
All right, that's fair enough. But then they play Murray State and Southern Miss. Those are their other two non-con games. They should handle those. But they do draw playing in Austin at Texas, and they do draw Georgia. They play Georgia at home, thankfully, but still, that's no cakewalk. And they also do go play at Ole Miss. So you have tough conference opponents. You didn't get the easiest draws in the world. They do get Vanderbilt, though, which should obviously be a win. And then another big lingering question for the Cats is can you get an Ohio State transfer and Chip Trayanum to replace Ray Davis? You're asking for a lot to make up in the backfield in that offense, but you do have a more consistent quarterback should be in Vandergrift. Like, we don't know.
There's a lot you're just going to have to see with him. And he's been around football for a long time. He's been in college football for a long time. Maybe not the snaps you want to see, but if he's been there and understands systems, I think he can work his way to a good spot. You forget, I think Leary was second in the Big 12 or the SEC last year in passing touchdowns, but he threw a lot of picks. I think you're less likely to get that out of Vandegrift. But again, it's just a quarterback in a new system and a new world, getting the most starting snaps he's ever had.
Right now, before I do a more deep dive, I would say ceiling 9 wins. Like, you're pushing your head against it, ceiling. And that's with those 3 losses being the ones I named. So good question on Kentucky. All right, let's flip to the Instagram side of things. We don't have any graphics for these because they don't really let you present them very well. But we got a few questions submitted via Instagram. Let's lead it off with JP. I'll let you choose the first one to drop down there from Justin Leonard. Who is the biggest dark horse for the college football playoff, Jake?
I said any Big 12 team because are we talking like win?
Give me all 14 of them.
Are we talking any national or like national champion or like
make the playoffs?
Making the playoff. I would assume making the playoff.
Give me any Big 12 team because I think you could name 10 teams that could win the conference title this year. And there's probably 5 names you'd be like, oh, I did not picture West Virginia getting in. I did not picture UCF getting in, Kansas, whatever that may be. So pretty much anybody in the Big 12. What'd you say?
You're saying the second team, right? That's guaranteed. Like, they obviously get the conference champion in, but then
I'm saying no. I don't even know if they'll get 2 in. I'm saying we're guaranteed 1. Whoever wins that conference title. I'm just saying I don't think anybody knows what to expect with who's going to win this.
Oh, okay. Title. You're saying anybody from the Big 12. Okay, yeah. No, I get that. That's a fair answer. It is as open as I think the ACC would be considered to be. JP, who do you got on this?
I mean, Jake took an entire conference, so that's rough. But what I would say is your biggest dark horse to get in here. I'm on the SMU train. I do think they have a legitimate shot. They go 10-2, 11-1, something like that. Obviously, that's a really good year for SMU to just backdoor their way into a 12-team playoff, like be the 11, be the 10. I'll take SMU here, but I also think a school in the Big Ten West sitting behind me right now. That's dark horse. Just win the easy games on your schedule. Don't lose the games don't lose games you're supposed to win. And I think 10-2 can get your ass in. That's just a fact. Like, nobody's going to think about it, but easy schedule.
I think I gave mine away, but I mean, I think if Oklahoma makes the SEC title game, I think Oklahoma gets in. So that would be a big.
They win 9 games, they got a shot at getting in.
Yeah, especially in the SEC.
That's the truth.
So I don't know if you want to call them a dark horse with where they're at in the odds. I would say that would be a dark horse to make the college football playoff, considering they're 8th or 9th to win the conference. So that would be mine is Oklahoma. All right.
Jake, you want to tell this guy where he can get this answer?
Yeah.
So we had what do we got? That B Cooker 21 on Instagram asked us, where does Rocco Beck rank among the Big 12 quarterbacks? Well, I don't want to give it away, but maybe you should tune in to play the fight song Iowa State fan perspective in our recent episode where Justin and I broke down the entire list of Big 12 quarterbacks for you. So
tiered them out.
Can't give you that answer. You'll have to go and find it there.
Jake can't, but JP and I will because we didn't get to answer that question. JP, where would you put Rocco Beck?
Top 3.
Whoa.
Okay. Fafita would be up there for me.
Shadur, Cam Rising.
I would have Shadur up there. I'd have Rising below Beck just because he's taking a whole year off. Not saying this can't move. I think I have him top 3.
Okay.
Like thinking off the top of my head without ranking them, writing down on piece of paper. I think he's a top 3 quarterback in the conference.
I would have him at 5, and it would be very similar to Jake's list, because obviously you have to take an account for the KJ Jefferson train that's also
Sure.
in the Big 12. So I would put him at 5
Oh.
behind those 4 that I already named. All right, let's go to the next one. This one came from Optimus, aka Jory Op. Shout out Jory, huge Oklahoma fan, so he's probably loving this episode. But who is winning the Heisman this year? Jake, who do you got?
Carson Beck was 3rd in the country last
Chalk,
year in
yeah,
yards. He's probably going to have the number 1 team in the country. This is how the Heisman works. So, yeah,
fair.
I'm going to pick Carson Beck.
JP, who you got?
Can I have fun with this one if I don't actually believe it?
As long as you don't take mine, I love it.
Oh,
right.
you don't believe it?
No, Jake, because I have done
Oh,
zero
here we
research
go.
on the Heisman
Okay.
because we
I was
haven't even done our
wondering.
preview episodes. I'm not going to say some boring shit like you just did.
It's a good answer.
Georgia
though.
fan, by the way. How about Nico Emiliava? Tennessee wins 9-10 games. They're high flying again. Guy's the center of it all. Runs for 1,000, throws for over 3,000. See you in New York, Nico.
And they would just need one big upset. Look at Manziel's year; he won the Heisman his freshman year. I mean, they didn't have any they didn't have a national championship. They were still a very good team, but it just takes one big upset where you play well. I like that pick. I think it's good. I'm going to stay a little bit fun with mine. That I don't know how many people would agree with me, but I'm going to say Ollie Gordon. I mean, if he plays as well as he did last year, takes another step forward behind another good offensive line and his 11th year quarterback, I think Ollie Gordon could find himself in New York and win the Heisman next year too. He should have been there last year. So that would be our choice. We did have 3 names out there, the Chalk, Nico, and Ollie Gordon. So that's a fun list. But all right, let's go to the next question. I believe we have a couple left. This one comes from Brett Pierce, JP's lovable brother. How many group of 5 teams make the college football playoff? I'll answer this one for you. 1. Jake,
I'd
what do
love
you
that
think?
to be 2. I'd love that to be 2. It's just not going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about I sent this out a tweet the other day. Like, how about let's debate who's going to make the G5 spot? Because I think there's room for debate that's coming when this does happen. But there's no debate.
Yeah.
There's one team in the G5 getting in the
It's not a dumb question, but you just look at who they took out. I mean, you took out the UCF, the Houston. Now you take the SMU. Like, that would be your ability to have 2 in if somebody were that dominant. Like, you still have Liberty down there, but they took out a lot of the perennial G5 teams that would make up that second spot. But all right, let's have that discussion. Who do you think would be the G5 team, Jake?
Well, everybody says it's Liberty because they'll probably go undefeated because it's the easiest conference or just the
They
easiest
could win 100
schedule.
games in the Conference USA. I don't want to, man.
Well, and then
Yeah.
look at their conference
Great
schedule.
point, JP.
It's terrible. And they said if the argument is, well, look at them last year. Yeah, look at them last year. I'm sure Memphis could have put up a better fight than 45-6 to Oregon. I think it's going to be an American team. Hopefully, I think Memphis has got a really good offense. I hope they're a little consistent.
down on that.
Tulane is kind of a wait and see with a first-year head coach, but I think some of the talent is there. Yeah, I mean, Liberty will be in the conversation. They're going to go undefeated. They still have Caden Salter. And then, I don't know, are we finally going to get a Boise State team that we've been dying since
Wrong
since
with the
our
Sun Belt,
childhood?
Jake.
Sun Belt, I don't know. Well,
It's a second.
it is a good
It's
conference,
close,
but
yeah.
it's kind of
Lost
they
a
kind
lot
of
of
beat up
coaches.
Yeah, it did.
that, and they beat up on each other. It's a conference that beats up on each other a lot.
That's true.
So,
Yeah. I'd like App to be back in that talk. Obviously, James Madison's not going to stay at the same level with what happened to them with Cignetti leaving, as well as their quarterback. You go to the Mountain West, it's a Boise State. I don't think UNLV is going to be as talented. You're kind of losing quick over there on who you go with. I'd love Texas State to take a big jump forward, but for them to win the Sun Belt, I think is a little bit of a reach at this moment in time. But I do like the American poll from you. I think Tulane would be my choice at the moment. I'd love to see UTSA stay at the top of that conference, but I think Traylor's starting to see that it's tough over an elongated period of time, not in Conference USA, to stay at the top of these conferences, even though he's an awesome coach. But I'd pick Tulane right now, but it's just because I'll never pick Liberty. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think those are all good ones. But you think the committee, because they'll be involved in the conversation now, because we're talking playoff here. Do you think they'll keep the Oregon Fiesta Bowl Liberty in the back of their minds? Like they'll be like, yeah, all right,
yeah. I mean, that was a full Liberty team.
I genuinely think that the G5 crowd has been upset, because we're trying to make a different playoff for them. But I think that there's going to be some guys in some suits just not putting a lot of thought on who's going to get that G5 spot. They're going to be like, well, you're our sacrificial lamb anyways, so good luck. We don't really give a shit. Oh, you're undefeated. Who'd you play? How much you win by? What was your stats?
Yeah.
We don't care. You went undefeated.
Notice
G5.
that the MAC wasn't mentioned, but you're in the same
Yeah.
boat as Conference USA. Go undefeated, win the MAC. I'm not going to blink at you. I still don't think you're
This
best G5
strength
representative.
I looked it up the other night, so because I was curious. They ranked Liberty's strength of schedule last year was 99th, and then you just mentioned the MAC, JP. What Toledo?
Toledo
didn't
was
win.
11-1 and lost a conference title. Yeah.
Yes, their strength of schedule was, I think it was 107.
Yeah,
So
bad conference. But all right, those were good questions. I believe that's it, right, JP? We didn't have any more lingering around there. We did have one, right? I think I typed it in.
Yeah, you typed it in. Do we want to even acknowledge it? Because I don't know how to. They do play at night, do they not?
They do. I think Jake attended a night game where they were playing.
Jake hit banners.
It has to do with BYU and night games.
Oh yeah, no, I don't even really understand.
I don't know how to take that question.
I don't either.
It's a wild question, but it's basically, can BYU play at night? But he didn't say BYU. I'm not sure. I honestly haven't dove that much.
I've seen him play at night.
I was gonna say I literally
So-
went to a night game in Provo. So I mean, yeah, I guess I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's the church.
yeah, it might be worth asking if you're very curious about it, but we don't really have an answer for you there. But that is all the mailbag questions. Hopefully we'll get more coming soon when we ask for them in the next few episodes. But we are really close to conference preview season. Preview magazines are starting to get released. Lindy's is out there. Athlon's on deck. And then the GOAT, Phil Steele, is out there. And then also Picks 6 is releasing here shortly. But there's a lot of fun stuff coming up, including those preview episodes. That's everything and anything we wanted to cover tonight. If you have another question, drop it in. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk about it next week. Got a lot to talk on College Football 25 here coming out soon. Gameplay trailer tomorrow. So we are excited for all of those things. Anything to close us out, JP? Any closing thoughts? You ready to go?
Hey, subscribe to our YouTube. We'll have a ton of
Thank you.
videos coming through from the season. That'll be absolute. There'll be a ton of clips from this show. Each show we do, all the previews will be clipped out, ready for you to roll. We'll also have stuff in season of recaps. Ton of fun over there. TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Again, support our friends over at No Rivals with code PTFS for free shipping. Great brand, great hats. You're not going to.
I forgot to mention this earlier. There is a lot of teams about to get added to that. So if you're like, they don't have my team yet. First of all, pick a rebuild team that you're going to use in College Football 25. You just feel better looking like a coach. So order that one. But there also is like 9 or 10 teams in the back end that we know of that we can't tell you yet, but they're awesome. And including one powerhouse. I'll give you that. So be excited for it and check them out. Great points, JP. But that's everything. Jake, I'm going to give you the honor as always. Take us away.
Put